What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Patrick. Today, getting close to 2015. Christmas just passed, so we got a lot of new technology coming up here. Hard to see on the top monitor up there. We've got ASUS's new Chrome box we're going to be reviewing, so stay tuned for that. Just did a review on the Vivis Night V2, awesome battery pack. Go see that. We got a lot more technology coming up. We're going to start getting into my main battle station, so make sure you're staying tuned for that. Today, anyway, we're going to go to a little bit different of a product. Not a product that I normally condone, but something that a very special woman in my life got for Christmas this year. It is the iPad Air 2. Not too much on the front here, just the sliver design of the side. She got the gold model. I'm fortunate enough to be able to hold it for just the duration of this video, and then I have to hand it back. Not so much on the packaging, just our usual Apple stuff. Mentioned it's the 64 gig model and what comes in the box. And on the other side, same iPad information and nothing on the bottom. So very uninformative, typical Apple product. When you take it off, it will reveal the iPad in the box. Pretty standard. We'll go over that in a second. Then in the box, you get this. One is a little manual. It's got a couple things in it. If you can't figure out how to turn your iPad on, it has a little diagram in there. We know how Apple users are. We've got a lightning charger that's here, USB on one end, and the new magnetic unidirectional lightning charger on the other end. And then last thing in the box is the USB wall wart. It's got the flip out wall wart, pretty common, just our usual stuff that comes in the Apple products. So let's get on to the good stuff. We've got the iPad Air 2 here. Comes in three colors: silver, gold, and space gray. This is the gold model. In terms of storage, it comes in three different storage volumes as well: 64 gig, 16 gig, and 128 gig. So nothing in the middle, no 32 gig. I think 32 gig would probably be fine for most users, but you know how Apple is with their marketing. So let me scroll down here. I want to reference some more notes that I have here. I'm not going to go over pricing. They're very pricey, and if you need to worry about price, you shouldn't be buying an Apple product. So height wise here, we're looking at 9.4 inches. Width is 6.6 inches. Depth here, this is a very paper thin device. It is a quarter of an inch, 0.24 inches thick, or 6.1 millimeters. Actually, we'll do a little size comparison. This is a little booklet that has a couple pieces of paper in it that comes with the iPad. So they're almost pretty same in thickness. Very, very thin product. And in terms of weight, it is just shy of a pound. It is 0.96 of a pound. It is 437 grams. Diagonally here, it is the usual 9.7 inches. Apple, obviously, as a pretty high-tech person myself, I don't normally condone Apple products. I got a couple problems with Apple. We'll get into that in a later video. Apple does build very beautiful products. Let's not get that wrong. Some of the architecture that's involved in this piece of technology is absolutely outstanding. Their choice of materials, some of the hardware inside is okay to my standards, and the operating system is a wonderful beast in itself. Let me turn this guy on. So they definitely make a pretty good product. Obviously, as a high-tech guy, for me, I have a handful of issues with it, but that's why this iPad is not mine. So while this is booting up, I just got done charging. It has an A8X 64-bit chip in it. It's really good. We're starting to get into the 64-bit range for all of our chips built into our devices. And paired with that A8X chip is a M8 motion coprocessor. iPads, tablets nowadays, the demand for different motion and different games that we have here. Not surprising that they have their own chip dedicated just to accelerometer and other movement sensing hardware that's built into these devices. The pixel density is 264 ppi, which is okay. The resolution is 2048 by 1536. So pixel resolution per inch comes out to 264, which is okay. Some devices are starting to get into the mid 300s, but definitely depends. It's relative to screen size, obviously. This 9.7-inch display is pretty impressive. It is their Retina display. LED backlit, widescreen, multi-touch, the usual, and it is an IPS panel. So, put in my password. Things beeping at me already. Very almost infinite viewing angles. Even viewing it from a sharp angle like this, you still get that rich color and good contrast, and you don't start to lose any of the color skewing. So that's wonderful. I love IPS displays. That's IPS display. I love that. My monitor behind me here, I used to have 3 of those in a battle station over there. They're all iOS, AOC IPS displays. IPS is absolutely fantastic, and this is no different. So moving on, it has a fully laminated display, anti-reflective. I'm not so sure about how anti-reflective it is. You'll definitely get a little bit of reflection on there, but it's better than most screens. All right, so we have 2 cameras in this. In the front here, we have a 1.2 megapixel camera for your selfies and screwing around with photo booth and all that good stuff. And then here in the back, where my finger's covering up, is an 8 megapixel iSight camera that can do 1080p video recording at 30 frames. It can also do slow-mo at 120 frames. It's got a lot of different things in it. It's got 5-element lenses, a hybrid IR filter, backside illumination, better face detection, exposure control, a whole bunch of different stuff. Apple is very, very good at building cameras. That's definitely one thing that I agree with many other tech people, that they do have a wonderful, wonderful camera. All right, moving on. You can do Apple Pay with it. I'm not a huge fan of Apple Pay. We'll get into that a little bit later. But if for some reason you forget your wallet, it has the NFC technology that's built in. You can go to McDonald's or whatever and pay for your chicken nuggets with your iPad. It's got the Touch ID, which is kind of a nice feature, pretty interesting. It's not programmed for my finger, but rather than putting in your password at the Apple store or App Store, you can just kind of touch your finger to the home button here, and it will put in your password for you. While we're here, the buttons are usual. You have your home button here in the center. Up top, you've got a power button over here, and a 3.5mm 1/8-inch headphone jack. It's on the top. On the side here, on the right side, as you're gripping the device, you have your volume rocker. That's over here, and that's about it. The usual Apple buttons that are on there. So carriers available with this, if you do want to get the cellular-based model, are AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon right now. I'm sure they'll carry more. That's all Apple's website gives me. In this Wi-Fi model that I have, has very good Wi-Fi. Tests that I've done with putting a big load on it has turned out pretty well. Has 802.11 AC BGN dual band Wi-Fi. Works with 2 and 5 gigahertz bands. It also has Bluetooth 4.0 in it, which is pretty standard nowadays. Digital compass, Wi-Fi, iBeacon micro-location. It has the FaceTime video, FaceTime audio. We've got some speakers here on the bottom that I failed to mention. Dual speakers over here, so you get stereo audio. Yeah, we'll get into that later. And your spot in the middle there for your lightning connector to recharge the device. Also has dual microphones in here, one at the bottom, one at the top, for improved Skype calling, whatever you do with your iPad. Audio formats are pretty usual. It does have AirPlay, mirroring. Doesn't really do too much Miracast, but I haven't played around with it too much. You got the usual Siri, all that good stuff. It has built-in a 2,730 milliamp hour battery. They say it's a 23.7 watt hour rechargeable lithium polymer battery, which can get you up to 10 hours of surfing on the web, watching videos, or listening to music. I can get about 14 with it if you really manage the battery, but it's pretty impressive that this thing can get 10. And to fit a almost 3,000 milliamp hour battery into something like this is pretty impressive. You can charge it through the computer through the USB cable that's provided, but keep in mind USB only charges at 500 milliamp an hour at 5 volt, so half amp, 5 volts, versus plugging it into the actual charger that's provided, which will charge it at the appropriate 2.1 amps. So that's about it. Talks about iOS 8, some of the apps that are involved there. They definitely have the new apps like Apple Pages, Apple Numbers, Apple Keynote, iMovie, GarageBand, the Apple Store that you can buy cases and other gizmos for your Apple products. It's got Apple Trailers for all their movies on there and Apple Remote. So there are definitely some new apps that they've added to the App Store that work very, very well for this hardware. I've tried a whole bunch of games on this. Pretty high-end applications, Real Racing 3. I've tried a whole bunch of stress tests on this, and this does hold up pretty well. I'm not an Apple fan, but I am definitely jealous of the lucky lady in my life that owns this. So when I get to play on it every now and again, I do enjoy it. Apple's operating system is dead simple. I love their operating system. For a very average tech user, it's a very, very good fit. But you see a lot of Apple users gravitating to Samsung or some of the other Android people because they miss that functionality. The operating system is very limiting as to what you can do, what you can customize. But then you also see the Android people gravitating from the complexity that Android brings to a much simpler interface like this. So I feel one day the whole Android-Apple war will actually polarize and it'll go the other direction, and Android will be the dead simple operating system that's so easy and everything like that, and Apple will be the complex operating system. We'll see how that goes in another 10 years. My opinion on it, it's wonderful. Price tag, a little stiff, but you know what? It's Apple. You're paying for that logo right there on the back. You're paying for this, gold like Kim Kardashian type device. But it's a pretty wonderful device. Very impressive how thin it is. 6.1 millimeters. I mean, it is paper thin. Definitely want to get a case for it. They offer some great smart cases. Every Joe Blow on the internet makes a case for the iPad. But in terms of cases, my recommendation in my experience with cases, always go with the manufacturer. They have the best specs. They can fit the phone better than anybody else. There are a few other companies that can compete, but in terms of a really good, nice case that fits well with the device and also looks good, you're going to want to go with the manufacturer. Apple's case is wonderful. The smart cover that comes with it, yeah, it's $80, but this is $700 iPad right here. So what's another 80 bucks? So cons to it, obviously price, overall cost of ownership. That's a big thing for me when it comes to Apple. The cases are expensive. The chargers are expensive. The wall wart, if you lose it, is expensive. The apps are expensive. There are not too many free apps out there, or they have a lot of in-app purchases. So that would be the caveat to one of these, is the overall cost of ownership. It is pretty fragile. Don't know how many of these I fix all the time. Oh, can you fix my iPad screen? Oh, can you fix my iPhone screen? It broke. It's definitely replaceable, but not the easiest thing to mod or custom or repair. So keep that in mind. That's just my opinion. I do think this is a wonderful device. If I had $700 and somebody bought me one, I definitely would not refuse it. So this is the iPad Air 2. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be around to answer them to the best of my ability. Make sure you like the video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Let's be honest. I appreciate the honesty. If you don't like the video, dislike it. Also, I appreciate it. If you have made it to the end of this almost 15-minute long video, I do appreciate you watching it all the way to the end. Please comment below, I made it to the end of this video, so I can get an idea of how many of my viewers are actually watching the whole video and not watching the first 30 seconds and just giving up and going on to the next video. So thanks again, guys. This is the iPad Air 2. We will see you next time. Thank you.